Hello and welcome to Formula Student GP around Albert Park GPK track, the 2024 season, round 3 here in Melbourne. So our qualifications for Albert Park are: down in P18, last place is Ashley van der Salm with a 55-second lap. Up in P17 is Pratham Dawar, and then in 16th is Alan Maxwell and 15th Menno Blomberger. Down in 14th is Frank Dapper and 13th Thomas Kine up ahead. Into 12th is David Wilson and 11th Matthias Patarozzi. In P10 we got Antonio Correa and Gustavas Bintinings in the 9th. In 8th we got Vail Niemi and 7th Jesper Nyberg. Up in P6 we have Laszlo Sabo and Brandon Pierce up in P5. In the second row we have Elias Hoke and Lozzy Lozzy. And our final two drivers, in first Jason Milanov and second Gus Dodeman. As now the engines turn on these Formula Students car around Melbourne, we're gonna see now the race start. Everyone preparing. Milanov already warming up his tires on the race start. We're gonna hit a gas pedal gone on any moment now, as the engines now start screaming. We're gonna get close to the lights off. And it's go, and this is bad stuff from Elias there. Losing our 2 positions already. And Lozzy, Dodemalin and Milanov getting a great start already. These 3 already right behind turn 3 here. No moves yet, but great start out of these 3. No mistakes yet. But we saw Elias having a bad start and losing 3 positions already.
Oh, it's hard to get back to these front 3. They all have slipstream, which is quite powerful, these cars. And now Dodemalin trying to make a move, Milanov defensively, but he's not close enough. The straights are not very long. These are small tracks. But it only takes a slight mistake to be alongside.
Now being the end of lap 1, Milanov already running away with a 4/10 gap as Lozzy going wide onto turn 2. Not if you want these high downforce. Basically go-karts just flying through these corners, mostly holding those accelerations through, and Lozzy having lost out just a second now, but Dodemalin being under the half a second, as we heard from Niels here that the straights aren't long enough, so the slipstream effect really being not playing just a bit. Looks like it's Nyberg and Pierce fighting it through the back straight.
Yeah, I said the straights aren't long enough. Apparently not for these two, as they try to make a move, almost contact as well. I'm surprised they didn't crash. It's something that happens quite a lot. And still Dodemalin really on the tail of Milanov. He does not want to give this up.
Yeah, these
Milanov
cars
going defensively as well.
These cars being tiny, the track being small, any gap that you can take, you have to take, or you're just gonna stay behind, stuck behind, and just have to take the dirty air with these huge wings. You can't really take all the advantage. You want to get past as soon as possible. As Pierce shows us that he's impatient, looking for all the clean air, showing himself in those mirrors. These huge wings, you can't really look behind, you gotta use those mirrors. That's great run out of turn 10, down here to 11, a bit of contact, but he does the move. Nice overtake from Pierce.
Yeah, indeed, and apparently Hawk also made a move on Sasbo. Really surprised him being there. Haven't seen him on the leaderboard yet. So he'll score a lot of points for the championship, good. Also Pierce doing really well. He was 7th in Bahrain, so again, decent race, decent chunk of points. And then back to the leaders. Dodemalin not giving up, Milanov managing the gap. They're both pushing, you see that. You see them driving over those curbs. And Milanov trying to break the slipstream. He doesn't want to give his arch nemesis any room. We don't know if they're arch nemesis. He's his closest rival. He's a defending champion. Dodemalin is the older champion. So those two have fought quite the battles during the years.
These two drivers having some history behind them. Have you heard that they're both champions? Milanov being the defending one and Dodemalin being champion before. So we gotta have these two drivers just pushing these Formula Student cars just to the limit. Only 2 times separating these two. Going now around turn 9 and 10, the most difficult part of this track, as Dodemalin keeps getting a good run of it. Is he gonna have a look down the inside? He does. Side by side action. Doesn't make it stick. Milanov got a bit more confidence in the car and makes it stick on the exit. And yeah, these cars just having all the downforce in the world with these tiny tires, really pushing the limit as we already start lapping some cars. I believe that's Dawa that they've lapped and losing a bit of time, as now actually they're leaving out the leaders, as look at behind Lozzy again, catching a bit after having that mistake in lap 2, going wide in turn 2. So we gotta see what these drivers are gonna manage, if they're gonna push all the way, or if they're gonna maybe look to have a look maybe at the back of the race, as this battle here between Dap and Patarozzi also going very strong into turn 13 and 14, as Patarozzi has lost the rear a little. Big downforce, but if you get it wrong, the rears just do not keep it, and you will lose it.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, they're so much fun to drive if you get it right. If you get it wrong, it's out of the road. If you touch the wheels on the grass, you spin. If you go a little bit too fast, you spin. They're so on edge to drive, and that makes those two at the front, Milanov and Durmal, so good as well. But also all the other drivers. It's not easy, and we see a clean race, which is really impressive from these guys.
Now that we're out of the starting gap of this, down the inside goes Correa at the turn 3. It's like no, there's contact between Correa and Wilson. Correa's facing the wrong way. Wilson keeps on going. Oh, that's something you don't want to see. Turn 3, 4, and 5 being really close together. A really narrow track. Side by side action, really not something you want to have in these cars, which take only like 30% of the track already. So side by side goes Kane on the lapped car. As there's a car going off turn 9 as well. We already see that the pressure is getting to these drivers. All still very close together. So you really have to drive these cars to the absolute limit. But once you're over that limit, the cars just faces off, as we have Maxwell DNFing there on the start finish straight. So yeah, we're gonna see what this driver is already 8 laps in. The tires not having the longest of life, as with this much downforce, any cornering will take a lot of tire life out of this. Pierce catching here, only catch 2/10 out from last lap, so Pierce really pushing his way, fighting for that P5 position. We gotta see what he can manage to do here. And also behind, we see for P14 and P13, that battle between Dap and Patarozzi that I've been talking about before, where Patarozzi has lost the rear a little, but feeling the pressure of Dapper behind. This race, this championship altogether, we had races starting from Bahrain. There's been close battling everywhere. In Saudi Arabia, we also had nothing less than a great race. And now here in Melbourne, round 3, great racing out of these drivers.
Yeah, it's really close. I think we see a little bit less action due to it being more of a regular sized track. The first two are really small. I think this feels more natural for a lot of drivers, because that's also something you have to factor in. These cars, they are small, the tracks, they are small. It's not something you're used to when sim racing. And now here Brendan Pierce having a really strong race. I think it's also from maybe the experience from the regular sim racing that this track just feels a little more natural, and where you can get a little bit closer to the limit, try more moves. I think he's also now quite a veteran in this series, quite a lot of podiums, and I think he just is hungry for more. He wants more points and he wants them fast.
Now Sabo and Pierce here fighting all over the place as Sabo goes so far in defending that he goes with 2 wheels off the track onto the grass. Pierce right behind taking all of the track. We see these cars taking much more than the track limits allow, but just keeping that grip. These guys are just about 3 tenths behind. Ooh, that was a mistake from Sabo, from Pierce in the final corner, losing out a little. Sabo having a bit of a breather now, a bit of a polster, a bit of a cushion behind him. So we're gonna see what Pierce maybe has the upper hand on sector 1 and 2, losing out in sector 3 a little. We know there's a little bit of setup play here as we can change just a tiny bit of differential and here and there. So this tiny schnick-schnack, I'm saying now, can help you greatly in tracks like these in Melbourne, where most of the corners are basically flat out with these high downforce, slow speed cars. Basically 90% downforce, 10% speed, as we're now on board with Torremalen. Now we can see what the driver sees when driving these small cars. Going 120 k's into turn 3. It's just really interesting to see how fast these cars are and just how the tracks looks like with these smaller race cars. You can just basically think this is a Formula 1 car, a Formula 1 go-kart car going around a Formula 1 go-kart track. And it just looks so much different, feels so much different. But it's basically the same experience as driving a full-size Formula 1 car on a full-size track. As we just see the drivers just pushing through, we see that out of turn 11, Dordemalin taking all of the outside curb that he can, taking the exact racing lanes that he just practiced to do, as practice obviously plays a huge role in racing like this. This is a really short race, you're about to cross even the half-point mark at this point, and feeling that we've just done a short, like just 10 minutes of this race is really important that the consistency stays up on that leaderboard.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do. You saw just before Doremalen. Those are a lot of corners in a really short time. There is not a lot of straights, and you don't have a lot of time to really arrest the car. As you see now, Brendan Pierce almost making a move. He's looking for it. He's looking for it on Sabo, and he goes for it. Yes, easy on the straights. I think it's one of his easiest overtakes in his life. And he takes up 5th position now.
Getting that good exit out of turn 7 with the mega grip disadvantage. And yes, as now Sabo goes into the pits. We know that's just one pit stop for tire change. So maybe going earlier, getting that aggressive second stint with more grip. Niemi following him in there. Brendan Pierce going up to P5. Oh, there's been an incident between the back markers. I believe that's Patarozzi and Dapper, who we saw fighting, having a bit of a squirm there at sector 1, turn 4 and 5. Obviously, bit difficult sector on this track, all being huge here, even fitting 3 cars around. But then there's end of sector 1 where just 2 cars barely fit side by side, as we already saw before. A bit of contact there, and now seeing a huge crash there. And just, you gotta feel the pressure here. The tire life starting to near its end, as we saw a few drivers jumping into the pit lane. We're gonna see what the pit stops are gonna look like around this circuit, around the half-point mark, around the 15-lap mark, is where the pit stops should play a big role.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult. We've seen in last races Milanov and Doremalen going really long and then only pitting 3 laps towards the end, but now Sabo pitting really early. I mean, it worked out for him. He doesn't come out in any traffic. He has a free track, and then you can indeed split the fuel in 2. So that's maybe the smartest way to do it. Also, I think the crashes may be a bit of loss of concentration, which something that can happen.
As the gaps now are starting to open up a little, Niemi being the closest battle on track right now on Sabo. As we heard, these two have jumped into the pit lane, so this is going to be a battle till the end of the race, as Nyberg now also in the pits. 7 tenths gap between these two drivers, Sabo and Niemi, all pushing their best. having last race a few good positions, and we're gonna see if they bring it back here. Getting a lot of points on the board, always important for the championship. And round turn 3 and 4, with the cars, you can just see how grippy they are, how much they stick. When you turn the wheel, the car just follows it so much that even on the exit, you just lose the rear as the front tires just bite everywhere. And just with that slipstream, the dirty air being a big role, you just start understeering. You just don't see these drivers having any of that issue because they're so experienced. They know when the car wants to fight, and they know where to push the limits. As for example, ooh, there's been an incident there. Car facing the wrong way, but near me having just a bit of a pace advantage. Ooh, losing the rear out of the final corner, losing a bit of grip there, losing a bit of time on Sabo, who was up on half a second, now being 8 tenths. Now closing up onto not a lap traffic. That's for position as well for P7, as we see Nyberg, who left the pits just a lap before, going in. It's Milanov, Shockers goes into the pits, so Dodermalen goes for a long strategy.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Nami, we talk. Blackout.
As now Milanov only being 2 tenths behind Hulk. We're also gonna see what happens there, as Dodermalen facing a bit of traffic there of, I believe that is Dawar. Now letting him by, as obviously you don't want to hold up the leader too much there. Milanov being really close to Hulk, who hasn't pitted yet. Maybe looking for a move down to turn 9 and 10. Looking for that alternative line, getting all that clean air that he can. We know that Milanov has the pace. We know that Milanov has the consistency to fight. He just isn't allowed to lose too much time, as Doderman in the pit. Let's see who's gonna come out of this battle, as Hulk now jumps in as well. Doderman is still in the pits. We're gonna see where he comes out. There he is on the left. You can just see him as Milanov just comes out in clean air. Doesn't manage to get the P10, P1. I'm sorry, and Doderman right there, just 1.3 seconds right behind Lozzi. Ooh, there's a car around. That's the one facing the wrong way. We saw him fight a bit there. We saw him on camera a bit, and now facing the wrong way. Obviously, the race not long at all. This is more of a sprint race with just 25 laps on the short track. You gotta push all the way, all the time, but not too much, as in endurance racing, if you do a mistake, you have enough time to make up for it. But in races like these, one mistake can cost you immense amount of time, as we saw from Hulk, who had a mistake. Oh, that's Kane there, going off the track. But if you saw from Hulk, getting that bad start, losing only 2 positions, he has difficulties now. I say difficulties, but it's right ahead of Lozzi. These two having pit already, so better for P3. Beautiful done from Hulk. Nice recovery drive. Luckily, his mistake was at the beginning of the race, which you really gotta be watch out for. The later you do your mistake, the less time do you have to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. And now this is a battle for. Oh no! And there goes Hawk, collision with a back marker, and that gives the position to Lozzi. Hawk still being in fourth, but I think that car has some damage. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. That was a great battle. Also, these cars not easy to drive, but to see them being really consistent. But it also comes down a lot to setup. And what do you prefer? Do you prefer a car that's understeer? Do you prefer a car that's oversteery? When do you want the car to snap? That's all things you have to consider. And I don't think Hawk will give up his podium position soon, and he is closing up on Lozzi. When he's closing up fast. He already won 4 tenths in those 3 corners.
As a driver, obviously, you can read your opponent when you're the driver behind, giving Hulk just the advantage between his rival there, Lozzi for the podium place. This is a big position. Obviously, as a driver, you want to have that podium position, having that that trophy on your name. As there's been an overtake between Saba and Nyberg. I believe there's been an incident as they lost 6 tenths on each other. Always gotta watch out for that, as they're now also having issues with back markers. Stats of overtake, they're done by bettings on Sabo for P8, but the battle is not over yet. It's Saab are gonna have a look back, saying, no, thank you, I want that position back, and I want to have all the points that I can. This battle here raging on in the final second sector and final sector. These cars having all the pace that they can pull out. No time loss, no strategy players. The only thing you gotta watch out for is those mistakes. We saw Nyberg sliding the rear out of turn 1, now into turn 3, keeping it nice and tidy, facing the right way. You see that arrow down there. It just shows you that your opponent is right on you, that you gotta be careful any mistake. Now onto the back straight, which is really curvy because this track is smaller. Usually the track is basically so it's Sabo nearly having a look around the outside, but on this corners it's really not an overtaking opportunity. Let's see if he has maybe has a look down into turn 11. No, he does not.
No, Sabo quite disappointing, starting out in 6th position, being 6th for the remaining of this race, and now falling back. I'm not sure if he can get back to bettings for 8th position, but it seems to be like that. Also Nyberg closing out on Niemi. There's still quite a lot of points to gamble here. Also Doornmal not being too far from Milanov. One mistake can from Milanov and he loses his lead. And it's easy to do.
Closing in, I'm sorry to interrupt, we're closing in on the end of the race as Milanov is facing a bit of traffic, perfectly for Doornmal, as any time advantage is incredible for him. And just the battles here happening. There's been a few laps where we saw a bit of clean air from each driver, but now we're gonna see Doornmal going under the half a second. Now he has Patarozzi up ahead, who's gonna slow him down. Obviously, blue flag playing a role here. You're not allowed to hold up the back at the lapping car too much. As Doornmal had more luck getting past Patarozzi and Milanov not enough. As we're gonna enter the final lap of this leading group here. Now to lap 25, final lap of the race. We see the flashing on the top left. Let's see if Doornmal can do anything. And I'm sorry, Niels, you can now commentate more.
Yeah, thank you, Doornmal. I think he smelled blood. I think they're both pushing. You can see gliding slightly on the grass, going a little bit offline, trying out extra moves. Milanov lost quite a lot of time, almost half a second behind the left car. But I don't think it's going to be enough. It is close. But Milanov, only 4 quarters to go, and he reels in his second win of the season. Back-to-back wins.
Yes, Milanov now crossing the final corner, going across the line, winning the Melbourne Grand Prix here in Formula Student. Doornmal just following it up in P2. Great battling from these two. Lozzi, after a decent race, after a great fighting with Hulk, gets that P3 after a few mistakes in lap 2. Hulk with that bad start, happy for that P4, and Brandon Pierce, found in the final corner, gets P5. Those are top 5 drivers. Great racing from all of them, gave us some great battling, as Nyberg also can now relax, knowing that Betting's behind is just a bit too far away, crossing the line for P6 and Betting's for P7, great racing from them as well. Really enjoyed watching this. Sabo behind, we saw him crossing the line for P8 and Niemi P9. Correa, we've not seen a lot from him, a bit of off-tracker from him, but crossed the line. Correa soon. There he is, crossing the final corner. He goes in the pit, I believe. He has crossed the line already, or he's just gonna do a Schumacher and finish the race in the pits.
I think everyone has finished.
And that was a race from here. Our top 10 being Milanov, a race winner. Doornmal in P2, Lozzi in P3, Hulk in P4, great race from him. Pierce in P5, Nyberg in 6. Bettings in 7th, Sabo in 8th, Niemi in 9th, and Correa topping our top 10 here around Melbourne.